Are you curious about live streaming or creating video content to boost your business, but been on the sideline until now? Hi, I'm Sam-Erik Ruttmann. I'm joined by Ross Brandt, a trailblazing live streaming strategist and podcast host. We'll talk about our experience and why it is not too late to start. So welcome, Ross. I'm thrilled to do this live stream with you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks a lot, Sam-Erik.
Well, I think we were talking about looking at the different platforms, and since we are on LinkedIn and YouTube, to talk about LinkedIn and all types of videos and other LinkedIn features, and also then about YouTube, of course, and finally touch on the Substack, because that's where we have recently met, and I really noticed that you are advanced in this, so I'm looking forward to learning about more, and then also the audience who are not familiar with Substack, so to talk about those features. And I hope that we can get a chat going here. So I have sent out the link to different groups in LinkedIn, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, Ross, great to have you here, and maybe we can start with LinkedIn, since that's some topic that is always interesting, what's going on with that platform.
Yeah, I noticed in my feed some vertical videos over time, and that you could kind of scroll like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok style. And so I was curious what was going on, and I did a little research on it. And in the beginning, I don't think they rolled it out to everybody, but now I think everybody can use it. So I just looked at some of the specs and gave it some thought in terms of who might be using it and whom might not be using it, and how I feel about it, how others feel about it. What's interesting is I put a poll out yesterday in my post on it, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for creating videos on LinkedIn from the creator side. There wasn't a lot of enthusiasm about watching videos on LinkedIn. Those short form vertical videos we're talking about, not live streams or, long form uploads.
Yeah. I also, I participated in this poll, and I was thinking also that I'm watching vertical, but LinkedIn has not been the platform where I do that. And of course, I will test some and probably go live on LinkedIn with my mobile device and do maybe a short video and see how that works. But somehow the way LinkedIn has worked until now for me is that I do regular postings and updates, and I upload all kinds of content, even short-term videos announcing some other stuff that I'm working on. But no, that's not the feature that I'm so far very hot on. But you never know. Yeah, you can always come around.
Well, when LinkedIn first added live video, that was exciting because they would notify pretty much your network, and the reach was terrific, and
yeah.
The experience where you're getting in front of people who may be business contacts but may not be following you on Facebook or X or some of the other platforms. And so that was great. And then over time they dialed back that reach, and the connectivity wasn't always on point. So if you were multi-streaming, it was often LinkedIn was the one that wasn't connecting, at least how I found it. It tended to have more bugs than some of the other platforms for connecting to go live. So after a time, I kind of backed off from LinkedIn Live and looked elsewhere, and I've loved the newsletter feature. So I do, a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn, and then I've since started Substack about 3 weeks ago, and been going all in on that. But my video content, I tend to either share from YouTube, and then I'm sending people off the platform to YouTube, which I'm sure LinkedIn doesn't love. Or now I'm embedding my videos in my Substack and natively podcasting in Substack. So when I post on LinkedIn, again, I'm sending people to Substack. So I'm not doing as much LinkedIn as I had hoped to do this year, but I have been consistent with the newsletter. I've got probably around 30 issues this year, and I've been doing it on a almost weekly basis, let's put it that way, and that has been great. I mean, it's been great for me in terms of just developing and doing some different kinds of writing and connecting with different people, but LinkedIn remains a bit of a mystery for me. I've got my biggest following on LinkedIn. I've got 21 something thousand followers on LinkedIn, and it should be more going on there with what I'm posting. And I don't know if it's me in the strategy or if it's the platform, or I just still am not spending enough time on it. But I made a promise to go LinkedIn first, and I broke that promise when I found Substack. But my LinkedIn first promise was that when something happened, even a nice photo of an event or something, I would post first on LinkedIn, not making an afterthought where, like, you run to Instagram, then you share an X tweet, then you put it on Facebook, and then finally, oh yeah, I should throw this on LinkedIn too. But tried to do my first post on LinkedIn, and of course that was working until I started doing long form content on Substack a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But when I say it was working, it meant I was doing it. It doesn't mean that I found, a huge ROI from posting on LinkedIn. But again, I don't spend that much time on the platform still. I don't engage regularly, I don't think, to the degree that others do. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It remains a mystery to me as a platform. I feel like I understand the others a lot better than I do sometimes with what's going on with LinkedIn.
Yeah. I mean, the history of my relation with LinkedIn started, that was the place to post your work profile and actually connect with a lot of headhunters and also get offers for jobs. And that was my main purpose of using LinkedIn. And then, of course, when the following, I started to get more followers, and most of in the hotel space where I'm from, all my friends are on LinkedIn, so we always keep updated on what's going on in the events and so on. But yes, I mean, I also, in fact, it was just during the COVID, I started another hospitality talks channel on YouTube, and we also went live on LinkedIn. And I was really had high hopes for LinkedIn because all my contacts are there, and I was looking for getting more leverage on LinkedIn through people joining in on different topics, because we did interviews. A lot of hotel executives had a lot of time on their hand during COVID, so we had a great guests and so on. But no, that didn't work out. On YouTube again, that was a different story, and that was where I placed more emphasis on videos and short form videos. But I'm now, since we reconnected in Substack, so that's an area I'm really keen to explore and see what I can do much better and have a better strategy to reach out and a wider audience.
Yeah, and I think before we get to Substack, I just want to say that organic reach isn't great on almost any of the major social platforms. So if you do decide to post on LinkedIn and you're not seeing great results right away, it still may be the most fruitful for you putting your business content and, staying connected with people. And that's where vertical video is interesting, because I look at vertical video as more entertainment. You get hooked on something fun or interesting or curious, and then you keep flipping for a while or scrolling for a while. And how does that fit into LinkedIn? Well, I think people are going to LinkedIn to learn, to connect, to... so initially my thought is, well, that doesn't exactly fit in. But then it's a way to share behind the scenes, a little bit of what's going on in your work life, a thought, a tip, something like that. And then perhaps it could be quite beneficial for sharing things that you don't want to do a long form video in your feed for, or you don't want to just bring something over from another platform. You want to do some LinkedIn specific content, or content where you're thinking again like LinkedIn first and then maybe I'll share it elsewhere. So I think it's got some potential, but it also at first does feel like a little bit of a strange fit. Like when I'm get caught up getting addicted to scrolling the short forms, it's usually entertainment, and it's usually not a conscious choice. When I do things on LinkedIn, it's usually a conscious choice. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, I think you brought a very good point, is that but using the LinkedIn as a vertical and do videos, and actually that provides an opportunity to be very authentic, particularly if you're opening I'm talking about hotels in this case. You're recruiting new staff for your hotel, you're opening a new hotel, and you want to share with the community what's going on and the progress of opening the hotel, or you want to talk about some idea that you have picked up and want to share that as a kind of fruitful tip for them to help them in their business. So I see that there's a good case for that, and I think that's where I will of course like to give that a try, and I didn't really think about it in those ways until you mentioned it.
Yeah, I think I need to dive in on the YouTube, whatever they call it, the shorts, their short vertical videos. And what I guess also is interesting, because the audience has some of the same people, but it also has a lot of different people. There may be some kind of beginner stuff that I could share there too for people who haven't started podcasting or live streaming, right? Because while the people who've been following me for a while know how to do this in general, there's a whole audience of people who don't, and so I could probably think of some helpful content that's along the lines of people getting started, like, how do I do this for my business? How do I step forward if I'm a solopreneur, or I'm the only one in the marketing department with any interest in using digital tools or what have you. So yeah, I'm thinking this through just as we're talking, but I do think I think it's worth experimenting with.
Yeah.
And it could be after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or even 1 or 2 times you go, okay, I don't really like this, or there's no reaction to this, or the effort to create this content isn't worth the return that I get. But we won't know until we dig in, right? So I think that's probably why you're going to try it as well, because it's a closer line to revenue when you're on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
It's a closer line to doing business with people when you're on LinkedIn.
So that's really a tip now for all of you who are watching this, to check out the vertical and see what kind of tips what you have learned that you want to share with the community, and that's a way also you can expand. Plus, you have in LinkedIn, you have not only for a vertical video for everyone, but you can actually focus on groups, because there's lots of groups here in LinkedIn that you can connect with, and that's where the value definitely will be also.
Now, LinkedIn, you've always had to go live from like a third-party platform and connect to LinkedIn. With this vertical, can you go live just from your phone in vertical, or is it only for uploading videos? I didn't see anything about live when I was looking it up.
No, I didn't see it either. And one of the things that I when I used to go live on LinkedIn before, I was using a third party, but then it turns out that there was became now subscription based. So then I said, well, I'm not sure if I'm not getting the mileage of the LinkedIn, so probably not going to go live. But I would have to test this also, whether you can actually go live directly from your mobile device to LinkedIn without connecting through a third party. That would be fantastic. It actually would interest me more, and I think that would kind of motivate me more to do that, rather than paying somebody else a subscription fee just to go live on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think it also leads to more behind-the-scenes content, because you can just pull out your phone and give people a sense of the event that you're at, or do a quick chat with somebody that you run into who's a newsmaker in your industry. And you don't have to set up the third party and take the time, and not all the third parties can be set up easily or at all from the phone. Some can, some can't, and there's certainly options for going live on LinkedIn that you can connect with on your phone. But obviously, the time to market, the ease to use, all that kind of stuff, ease of use, is there if you could just boom, click a couple of buttons and you're live on LinkedIn and you're sharing. And maybe LinkedIn doesn't want that. Maybe LinkedIn doesn't want every thought that comes to your head to somebody to just pop on and go live on a business channel. That could be. that could be the case too.
Yeah, could be. Okay, so that's LinkedIn. And how about YouTube? What is your experience with YouTube, and how are you using it these days?
Well, I think, let me, quick little history is that most of my opportunities, really good opportunities, my audience, my paid opportunities came through Facebook Live, and then after LinkedIn Live came along, LinkedIn Live as well. So I never put the same priority on YouTube as I might have over the years if that was my primary video platform. Now, I saw the value in it. I used it kind of like an archive or a portfolio, but I didn't so much use it as a platform where I'm trying to build my main audience and so forth. That being said, right now, YouTube's where the game's being played for video 100%. I mean, getting any sort of organic reach for a live stream on Facebook, even in a group that you own, is difficult. You never know with X if it's going to pick up or it's not going to pick up. LinkedIn, as we said, has its challenges. But YouTube, and this is whether you're live, you're uploading, you're doing shorts, the platform is designed to try and find an audience for your video. It's got its own algorithm that works really well to match your video with an audience. And so every video is a new opportunity to connect with an audience. Every video is a chance on its own. So whether you have 0 subscribers or you have 1 million subscribers, your next video kind of stands on its own. Obviously, if you have 1 million subscribers, just by the fact that so many notifications go out, you're going to get more views than somebody with 0. But the point is, in terms of a video taking off and having a long shelf life, YouTube's where it happens. I never hear of anybody saying, hey, I wanted to look up what they were doing on such and such topic, so I went to their Facebook page and searched their playlist. Everybody goes to YouTube to search for videos when they want a video on a topic. It's where people go to find your videos, your back catalog. It indexes in Google. There's podcasting. So for all those reasons, in spite of the fact that I have not been a YouTube first creator for most of my time online, I would advise most people, think YouTube first. Think YouTube first and foremost for video content, whether it's live, whether it's shorts, whether it's uploaded videos, and think about the YouTube audience, and also think about the fact that now people are watching YouTube on TV. And I'm not talking about the YouTube TV subscription service. I'm talking about, instead of sitting down and watching a news show or a sports show or what have you, where there's quick 5-minute interviews and it's kind of the same thing rehashed over and over again, people are sitting down and watching long-form content on YouTube on their TV. They're watching 2-hour video podcasts and things like that. So think about that as well. It was always about, do short-term, helpful, how-to content. That's kind of what all the gurus always said. Well, that isn't always the ideal content for somebody watching on TV. I'm not saying there isn't still an audience for that, because there is. But think about what else you can do to build an audience that kind of gets addicted to that long-form talk and the conversations that you're having, because that's great stuff for on TV when people are in there, sit back and chill at night in that kind of mode. So just to wrap up an overly long answer is, I think YouTube's very important. I think it's got the longest shelf life for your content. Your content can take off 2 hours later. It's got podcasting. If you're doing any kind of podcast, do video and put it on YouTube. I think YouTube is hugely, hugely important as a platform right now.
Yeah, the way I'm using YouTube is I pre-record my video podcasts. Rarely I do live, but I do the pre-record because it gives me a chance then to edit, and it always go up to YouTube, and then I do the clips, and clips is to promote the video podcast. And I found by initially I chose all kinds of clips and just put them in, about 4 or 5 or 6 clips. But I found that it is more value that I choose just one. After I listen to the entire episode or the discussion I had with my guest, I listen to the one that actually gives something very special, and that clip ends up in the YouTube clips. And I found that it helps me to get more subscribers, and also it is kind of intentional that the people are willing to. I get more people actually watching the clips, and then they'll maybe want to watch the entire video podcast. But then comes the other feature that then it becomes also there's a podcast for this podcast alone, audio alone on the same channel, because my distribution goes through another platform for the podcasts, and then I link that podcast, which goes to some 30-40 different channels, also goes out an actual podcast in YouTube, which I find quite interesting. And there's an audience who was watching the episode earlier, and then they jump into the car and they're driving away, but they want to continue listening, so they can also continue on YouTube listening to this episode.
Yeah, see, that's interesting. I have not. You sending it over through an RSS feed from a podcast, audio podcast. So,
yes.
See, I haven't done that with YouTube because I guess one, I want people to watch the video on YouTube, because that's the nature of the platform. And two, because for me, I just turn the phone over when I'm in the car, and I don't look at it, and I'm listening along. And so I wondered whether I was sort of just duplicating my content by sending the audio over. Now, when you upload a video and make that play, or you have a video playlist, either way, like you either create a podcast in which it's basically a video playlist, or you turn a playlist into a podcast, I believe that all automatically can be consumed either audio or video on YouTube Music. And I'm not a subscriber to the YouTube Premium or YouTube Music, but I think that's where a lot of people are consuming audio podcasts. The question is, am I better off letting that just come from the video, or should I be sending it through an RSS feed? That's something I got to dig into. But I think either way, get your stuff on YouTube, definitely, because that's where things are going and where people are consuming. And if you can have video with it, because I know when I'm watching in my TV watching mode, even though it's just basically two talking heads that we're looking at, I still want a visual to look at that isn't a still image or an audiogram. But that's an excellent point that I've got to really look into. Do you want to have both your audio version and your video version coming into your channel, or do you just want to upload the video version and people can choose whether they look at it or not look at it when they're consuming it? Yeah.
The podcast, I have a different intro and outro in the podcast. It actually is a little bit different. It might be also because I edited the audio. It might have a longer part than the YouTube side, which I edit more and make it more compact. So I don't know if that it matters to people, but I thought it mattered, and now I'm just making that effort to differentiate a little bit. There's the intro side and outro obviously will be different. For the audio, it ends up with me saying something when I'm thanking people, and then on the video, it's actually a video which actually plays and gives the information where to reach me on websites. And then
it just rolls into the next video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so you were saying that you put the whole video episode up, and then you're doing one clip from the video that you're also putting on YouTube. Is that a shorts, like a vertical video clip, or is that a 3-minute plus, a regular landscape style video?
Well, in some cases it's only 60 seconds as a vertical. So it's just the key point, something that the golden moment I had with a guest,
right?
And of course that takes some effort to listen into a 1-hour podcast and find that 60 seconds that might work
Right.
on a clip. But I've been testing it now, and it turns out that because with the platform that we are now going live, which is Riverside FM, that they create automatically clips, and you can choose the length of that clip. So
Right.
initially, I let the Riverside FM do, and in fact, when they cut these clips, I look at them which one I could actually use, and then in fact I use that. If the clip is good and the audio is good, I use that as the intro to my podcast. In fact.
Oh, very nice. That's a good workflow. I think they expanded the length of the shorts. So instead of 60, you can now do up to 2 minutes, I believe, or 3 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes. I don't know that it's more effective to do longer. I think if you can do it within 60 seconds or 30 seconds or 20 seconds, that may be more effective. But are you also doing clips that are a little bit longer, where you're doing them just as a regular upload rather than a shorts, if it would drive traffic, or you're sticking with kind of the shorts, the vertical format for those?
Yeah, for now I'm doing that. But then the next topic we're going to talk about Substack, and that's where I created a short video part of that episode. Maybe it's a 10-minute, because it actually is a very important part of the whole conversation. I make a long post, and then I embed then that video in there.
Nice.
Yeah. But hey, now, Ross, we got to talk about Substack, because I know very little about it, but I finally got the tip from you about this handbook about which seems to be very brilliant about it's like the Substack for dummies, and I'm reading it now. I'm reading it now.
Yeah, Kim Doyle's visual guide. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's very good. Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy platform the first time you go on it to understand kind of how to do things. There isn't a tremendous amount of documentation. So her book, and some of it is old and some of it's a little stale. So I think it's a great platform in a lot of ways. And her book, I think, helps you get going on it and understand what's going on there.
Yeah. But when you started with Substack, was that for writing, posting long forms, or how did you get started? Because I looked at it and I was a little bit confused. I didn't know whether I should work creating my blogs there, but I started with notes because that was the easy way to get started.
Well, number one, I heard they had a live streaming. They added live streaming, so that piqued my curiosity. Yeah. I'd always kind of liked the idea of the platform. I always felt that there was a certain, I don't know, not prestige, but a certain something to it, because you had all these journalists who were coming over and creating their own Substack and doing some real substantive stuff on there, as well as writers. And it just seemed like, you have your own publication there and so forth. So it always fascinated me, but, I'd never done anything with it. And so I was a little frustrated with my email service provider, and so I started to look at other ones, and I looked at ConvertKit, I looked at Beehive, and, I started hearing a lot of people saying, especially Kim was saying at the moment, Substack could be your only one, or one of your, primary services for sending emails and newsletters and things. So I just wanted to test it out. I had first tested out ConvertKit, I had tested out Beehive, and the difference with Substack was it's kind of like a social platform. There's notes, which are like tweets, there's podcasts, there's video, there's a lot of ways to engage, and there's an active sort of network on there of people. Whereas the other platforms, you send your email and it's your relationship with your audience, and that's important and it's great. But this is a chance to both have that relationship, but also be on a platform where that same content can grow and grow your audience. And so, like everything else, you dive in and you test it. And I'm trying to publish just about every day on it during the week. I'm not necessarily doing anything on weekends, but 3 to 5 times a week publish, 1 or 2 podcast episodes, a weekly roundup on Friday, which is a lot like my LinkedIn newsletter, and then, maybe 1 or 2 text text posts. So overall, I'm trying to deal with a mix of content. And then the one thing I haven't done, which was the draw there, I haven't gone live yet. But that's something I'm definitely going to test and see how that goes and how that works, because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I'd like to try that also. And one interesting part is that there's an opportunity to do like a subscription-based,
yes,
where you have some content where people can subscribe to. I'm giving everything for free for time being, because there's no point of being greedy at.
I guess it says people can pledge or something. So if I ever turn on monetization, then they're already, automatically subscribed to the paid tier or whatever. But I'm not promoting that, other than if Substack puts if somebody's already subscribed, they may put that pledge thing there. I didn't even know what it was until I saw it on somebody else's. But the fact that there's built-in monetization, there's some community features, but I also like the fact that every time I do a video or I do a podcast episode or I post a blog kind of post, an email goes out to my network. Now, I would send emails, like if I did a newsletter on LinkedIn, I would then send that to my list as well. And when I had a book come out or whatever, but I didn't email regularly, and now I'm emailing very regularly, and eventually I'll survey my people on my list and see what they like and don't like, and is it too much, is it not enough, what have you. But it's definitely, if nothing else, it's gotten me into email, much more than I had been, and not just when I'm selling something or I have a weekly newsletter, but various forms of content and things, and in the moment as I'm discovering them.
Yeah, I realize. I'm on a Substack every day now, and sometimes I just while I work in Helsinki, I just point out some point of interest that I thought might interest people, and I just record a video, then upload it to Substack, and that seems to be getting a little bit.
I enjoy those. I really do. I mean,
yeah,
it's really great. It's a beautiful city too.
Yeah, it is. But now I like to try the live portion of Substack, if it's available for everyone, or do you need to have a number of subscribers before we can?
I think it's available to everyone.
Okay.
Take a look at my phone real quick. I'm in the app. I click plus, like I'm going to create. I see the photo, like you upload a photo, video, but that's like for an upload. And then I see camera, access the camera, we'll say allow. If I put it on video, it says Substack would like to access the microphone.
Okay.
But I don't know whether that's just recording video or not. So I have to look into what it takes to go live on the platform.
Yeah.
So that was, a quick from the mobile app. And what's interesting is there's things you can do from the mobile app, like chat, that you can't do from a mobile browser. But you can't post, I guess you can post content, but it's a little, well, I don't know. Maybe it's just notes. I don't know. When I try and, like go into my dashboard and that, if I'm on a mobile, I have to go into a mobile browser, not from the app. So
right.
There's a lot of little things to learn. That's why Kim's book is great, and there's videos and documentation and stuff that Substack provides that can help too. But there's a lot to explore, and it's fun. I mean, yeah. It's a social media platform, but one where you get email addresses, so you can communicate. If you decide Substack isn't for you one day, or they shut down or whatever, you don't lose that connection to the community that you're building there. You can stay in touch with them and reach them one-on-one at scale, so to speak, through email.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important point, because I tried a number of platforms that then suddenly said, well, this is a sunset time for our platform, and so I lost everything. And I think Haps was one of them, because I enjoyed Haps for a while, and that was not very long. And then Periscope, I start with that. So I tried a few also, but that's kind of a learning curve that one has. But I am starting to grow on me the Substack. So it's actually partly thanks to you, Ross, that I'm learning. And then there's another friend of mine who talked about Substack stack because he wanted to start podcasting, and he was a guest on an episode. So I asked him, well, the obvious question, where are you going to upload your podcast? So he mentioned Substack, and so I was like a question mark. I didn't quite know what he was talking about. So I learned quickly, and then when I subscribed to it, and I see you there, so that helped me to kind of convince, well, if Ross is there, I got to give it a try also.
Well, the next thing we'll do is we'll compare notes on going live, how we did it, and
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, have you tried Riverside FM as a platform, or how do you use it?
I've been playing with it a little bit. I really dig the teleprompter feature. If you don't have obviously a physical teleprompter that sits over the lens of your camera and you're reading as you're looking into the camera is ideal. But I don't have one of those, and they kind of fall into two classes. Those that take some work to get them, you have to add an iPad, or they're built in. It's built in, but it's not exactly what you're looking for. And then there are the big ones that studios use that cost $1,000 and up, and most people don't have the space for, even if they wanted to spend the money. So that's where Riverside's teleprompter comes in handy. And even though you aren't looking directly at the camera, if you position your camera near your monitor, it's in big letters, it's at the top. And particularly if you're not necessarily reading a script, but you're using some bullet points or notes. I've always been an off the top of my head person, but sometimes for short form stuff, or I don't know, even for YouTube, it's a skill set I want to develop, which is scripting video and reading it. Excuse me. So that I'm saying precisely what I want to say, the no fluff, no thinking, and I'm saying, and I'm thinking, and I'm saying, which is fine for talk shows, but sometimes for certain types of instructional videos, or your show open, your show closed, just look directly at the camera. I find I look at the camera more, even with the script not being right under the camera, because I'm not looking up and away as I'm thinking about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you, having done this for a long time, I can pretty much do anything off the top of my head. But that doesn't mean that every kind of video, like some kinds of videos are just better if you script them. Yeah. And, that's something, and like I say, it's a skill set I want to develop, because there are times where that is the ideal way to do a certain kind of video.
Yeah, I'm using Riverside FM mostly for I script the episode which we pre-record. Mm-hmm. So I use it as kind of a benchmark in the bullet points so I keep track on the flow, and then. But I haven't used as a teleprompter, because I think I need to practice this. One is finding the right speed for my how I speak, and secondly, when I write the script. So it's becoming more of a how I speak, and not like a formal. So that's something I need to develop, and I'm keen to learn that, because it will help in the long run for some particular videos where I should stay on the script and keep it sort of tight and nice for the audience to enjoy.
When I worked in radio, I did 2-minute update type of broadcast where I jump on and I what's going on right now, and here's the stories and whatever. Those I would typically script unless I didn't have time. So I have a little experience writing a script and reading a script. Of course, it's totally different in radio, because you don't have to look anywhere. So you can take that piece of paper, you can jam it in, not in front of the microphone, but you can have it right here. Yeah. So for doing an audio podcast, it's great, because you don't have to print something out or put it in a document that doesn't scroll, and then you can just focus on your vocal delivery. But I think even for video, it's a useful feature. But Riverside seems like a very promising, like I say, I'm just learning it now, but it seems like a very good recording platform too. And I haven't live streamed with it. where I'm the host. I have where I'm the guest. But I've done some solo video podcast episodes that I've recorded in Riverside, and I like it. It's got a lot of interesting features too. I mean, you get your transcript right away. You get clips that you can use. You get images from the broadcast. So there's a lot of cool features that people might not expect in a browser-based platform. But I'm still learning. I'm still using other platforms. I still use StreamYard and Ecamm, and but I think each one has its own place. And for doing Substack content, I think this is a pretty good one. This is definitely one to consider. Yeah,
I'm using quite a bit of Riverside FM for my videos because it gives me the transcript, the show notes, and it also gives me the base for a blog. And also the snapshot, they call it, the still pictures, and then and the audio you can get for the audio portion of the podcast. I can transfer that to Audition where I edit it. But I'm still loyal to Ecamm because I learned how to use Ecamm and the change of scenes and so on. To go live, this is my first time today. I was frankly very curious how I can do it, and I'm glad that it worked out. Obviously, I think they need to kind of fix a few things, like if you want to do a intro or sort of the intro to a episode. Obviously, on Ecamm, for instance, you have a scene, and then that's your intro, and then you flow into this. And I had an intro for our episode, but I didn't know how to work it out, and I was really kind of wondering how that's working out. But since I made it, I'm going to play it now, so then you can see how it looks like.
Okay.
Just so, let's see if it plays. I mean, there. So that was the intro, but then I was curious. Well, I want to have the full real estate for that, but then you have to go to people, and I have to remove. You have to hide. I have to hide you and hide myself for the moment while the episode plays, and then you have to go back and click again. It was a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not impossible. But I think once they kind of change some of these things that people are expecting, I think there's a lot of potential, and so I'm for quality I still use quite a bit of Ecamm, and then upload the final episode to Riverside FM, which is actually a good flow to get the results I'm looking for.
Yeah, so it's got the editing part in there. You don't necessarily need a separate editor, right? You can upload there. You can do your editing, get your transcript. Are you using what they call the live studio for hosting this? I see at the top of my screen, I see Riverside Live Studio Live Record.
Yeah, I am there now. Yeah, because I used to.
Are you able to change shots and stuff, or you just record it like side by side, and then anything you do, you would do in post?
No, I actually this is an area for when I do the pre-recorded. I have sort of picture-in-picture version, but for live, I haven't found it yet. So I'm still kind of playing around with. I don't see it actually as a feature yet on here. There's only the media side. Have your text. You can add some text where you show we are live or
right
and then it disappears after 10 seconds, and then you have a chat feature, and then the branding that you can do. So that's basically the feature they have so far. But there's this pillar has a lot of space, so they could add some more things here on it on the side tab. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference with Riverside versus, say, StreamYard, Ecamm, Restream, the other big ones, is that Riverside really developed as a recording platform. They were ahead of the game on the recording side, and that's really, and then they added these editing and other features, whereas the other three that I mentioned started out as live streaming studios or live streaming software, and then they've perhaps added features like transcripts or local recording and different things. But Riverside was, at least my first introductions going on Riverside were people who were recording and wanted really high quality local recordings was the attraction.
Yeah. So I think I have a workflow how to use Riverside FM. It works very well because then I can put some of my content in short form and also on write the blogs from the transcripts, because I had an issue how to get the transcript and that was resolved by joining Riverside FM. So that's quite good. Yeah. So
do you
Ross,
record some of your shows in Riverside?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I record majority of my episodes on Riverside FM.
Now you get both a cloud recording of each track, and you get a local recording of each track. Do you get a mixed recording where it takes all the high quality local recordings and mix it into one, so that if it's fine and there's nobody talking over anybody, or nobody has bad audio that has to be worked on, you could just go with that track? Do you get that? Does anybody do that? Because that to me would be a real winning feature.
Well, I have to look into that, but currently I download the separate tracks, and then I transfer it to Audition, where I then and then I take that audio part from a clip that I have found, which I add on to the introduction of the podcast. But I have to kind of study this a little bit more. I haven't looked into that.
So there's a lot of things to look into, but you certainly get all the raw materials here to put together a very good final product. Yeah.
Well, Ross, it's been great to discuss with you and to kind of exchange ideas on what live streaming. So now, if there's someone who doesn't happen to know who Ross Brand is, so how can they find you? So they want to connect with you and ask you to coach them on the kind of the maybe a master class in how to do live streaming. How can they find you?
You can find me on Substack at rossbrand.substack.com. You can also connect with me at my website, livestreamuniverse.com/contact, or just go to livestreamuniverse.com. But I'm easy to find on all the socials. Feel free to DM me or connect. But Substack's where I'm spending a lot of time now. There's definitely a cool chat in there. So you can message me on Substack, rossbrand.substack.com.
Very good. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions, shoot over to Ross directly or send me a DM so we can look at some of the questions. I think people were a little bit shy to jump into the live chat today. But again, thanks very much for joining. I really appreciate that you took the time. And
thanks for having me.
I learned in this hour a lot in the same time.
Thanks.